What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Backpacking Podcast. My name is John Kelly. I'm here with my good friend, Jeremiah Stringer, sitting in front of his lovely collection of backpacking quilts. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and I know people want to blow up the comments and tell me that all those quilts are turned the wrong direction, and I have to tell you, you could not be more right. They're completely the wrong direction. All the down is falling to the bottom. I'm aware. I'm just too lazy to string them up a different way, but I'll do it eventually, just not tonight.
It's okay. We'll just judge you the whole night. It's no big deal at all, really.
That's okay, too. I'm used to that.
No big deal. No big deal. Well, dude, I'm excited about tonight. I'm excited. This is we got a really unique guest tonight because it's not just a guest, it's guests. Yes. With an S on the end, you know, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool things going on. Something real quick though. So I've got a buddy. His name's Darren Wendell. Okay, Darren's the guy that got me into backpacking. He's the guy that got me on Kilimanjaro, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that guy now has a fishing YouTube channel. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
he's got
dude.
The fishing YouTube channel. And so like he's got me wanting to go fishing again. So I literally got out my tackle box and like all of my rods and stuff the other day. Dude, I've got to go fishing now. Like I've got this bug. I got a bug in me now. I got to get it. It's got to happen. I've got to get out and go fishing.
If you want to go fishing, come down my way, Lake Cumberland. I mean, right now, just so everybody knows, if I just disappear out of existence, there's a massive ice storm coming across Kentucky at the moment, and I could lose electricity at any second.
That would be both of us on that one, yeah.
On a good day, you have to come down my way, man, and we can fish Lake Cumberland because, I mean, it's a fishing lake.
Yeah, maybe Jeremy from Midwest Backpacker says, ice fishing? No, I'm good, man.
Not quite that cold.
I'm good, bro. It's cold enough here. I saw your last backpacking video. You guys are good. You guys are good.
Too cold up there.
Yeah, I think those guys just got done doing a trip where they were in negative 27-degree weather.
Yeah, they're insane.
God, they've lost their minds completely. But we've got a sponsor for tonight, Jeremiah. We got a great sponsor for tonight. A sponsor that both of us, we have a lot of gear from them, and that sponsor is Hilltop Packs and our good friend, Mr. Ben McMillan over there at Hilltop Packs. I don't know about you, man, but one of the things I love about Hilltop Packs is the customization that they have of their gear. Like, look at this. I got my Chair Point 5 right here with my cool little logo on it, you know, with my bag with the logo on it. And he made me a food bag. Check this thing out.
Oh, right there. Hey, look at this.
Oh, that's a nice sweatshirt you're wearing. That's nice. I like that. But you know, I love the fact that like Ben has figured out a way to print on Dyneema in a way where it doesn't fade. I've got one bear bag. It's almost 2 years old now, and it doesn't fade at all. Like there's nothing coming off of it. Killer gear. He sells it at a great price, and Ben himself is just a good guy.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of his gear. I'll show a couple of pieces right now. These are my 2 food bags. I have a small one that I just take on overnights, and then a bigger one that will fit a few days worth of food. So he said he saw me on a trip, and he's like, "Oh, Jeremiah wasn't using my Hilltops bag I sent him," and he was like, "I know, I'll send him a bigger one." And I was like, "That's a wise choice, Ben, because that one." I was like a 3-day trip and I needed a bigger bag. And so now absolutely perfect. And you're right. He can print on Dyneema and he makes these Dyneema backpacks as well. And you can pretty much get printed anything you want on there, not just backpacks and food bags, but all kinds of stuff. Bear hanging bags, stakes. Like if you want a little Dyneema bag to put your stakes in, battery bags, ditty bags for electronics.
And he makes a killer backpack called the Raven.
Oh, it's
frameless
legit,
backpack. It is really nice. Well, and Ben happens to be on tonight, and as we mentioned, he's a really nice guy. Well, Ben even says he's funny too. So
yeah, and very modest.
Yeah, we're very modest. We're thankful to have Ben on here. Ben, thank you so much for sponsoring the video tonight and sponsoring the live stream. We definitely appreciate you doing that for us. So Jeremiah, let's talk about crazy people for a second.
Yes, I know some crazy people that's going to join us tonight.
Let's talk about some people who it's 2 parents with 4 kids who decide they're going to go for the Hiker's Triple Crown.
Yeah. Yeah, it started in 2018, right?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about some people who either one, they just love to hike, or two, they just love to be miserable. I don't know which one. I'm gonna go with one because we met them for just a few minutes beforehand, and they seem to really like being around each other. Their names: Vince, Monica, Aiden, June, Henry, and Georgie. And tonight with us, we've got Vince and Aiden and Henry. Let's welcome in the Strawbridge family. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Man, it is so good to have you guys here. We've already got one person saying the Strawbridge family are amazing.
Well, thank you.
So question for you guys. This has to be answered. Are you actually out of your minds, or do you just love to hike?
I think we're out of our minds, honestly.
Henry. I think that you might be right, but I also think that from watching, see, you all are documenting your experiences, right? You started this YouTube channel, so take us through a little bit of how this whole thing started, from your all's first through hike to now you're trying to complete the Triple Crown.
Well, I guess that's probably better for me to answer. We let's see. We were in 2008. You may remember that there was a housing market crash. So
yes,
I might have been in an industry related to that. Not disconnected is I was in another industry. You might remember it was related to technology, and I was in San Francisco right about that crash. So there's sort of there's a pattern that develops. But when the housing market crashed, we had a lot of money. We owed a lot of people a lot of money. So we were trying to figure out what we could do, and we couldn't justify a vacation because I was trying to pay everybody back. I didn't want to go bankrupt. I wanted to pay all my subcontractors. So we spent a lot of time working at that. But, how do you go on vacation and say, hey, I heard the Strawbridges were on a cruise and they owe me money. So I didn't want to do anything like that. But nobody's mad at you if you're sleeping on the ground. And we had some friends that were into backpacking, and they started inviting us along. So we did that. And my wife always has liked walking pointlessly and aimlessly and would invite me along. And I'd say, that sounds really dumb if I'm not chasing a ball. So at some point, it was very evident that she was into this thing. Like, she really liked it. She enjoyed going. And then we took a loop hike in 2017, I want to say, up in the Smokies, walked about 65 miles, and the kids got stronger every day. And I was like, oh my gosh, that through hike you've been talking about, Monica? Why don't we just take the kids and go? So it was perfect. So that was about 2017. I had a good sort of hurdle that I thought we'd never overcome. Walked back, kind of went back home, went to Aiden, this is my oldest. She was in a 4-year high school program, continuous, program that was pretty rigorous. And I thought, well, at least I'll have an out because I'll go talk to the principal, and she'll say, no way, you can't go, you can't take her out and come back. And the principal said, oh yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity.
Wow.
Well, I guess we're going. So the first hike was just a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're never going to do that again. And we didn't even, I didn't have any high expectation that we would make it. I didn't know what to expect, having gone 64 miles is the furthest we'd ever been. But we showed up there. This is pretty good too. We show up there at, walking to the Canadian border on the northern end of the PCT. And that's when I realized that we were with the experienced hiker crowd, because the Sobos are the ones that know they have a tight window. I did not know we had a tight window. I just showed up with my kids and started walking. And we were going southbound just because of the school calendar. Because we had, we got to start later, after school ended that way. So that's how it all started. We just did the PCT, came home, head in a cloud, all that hiker, malaise that you have when you come home from something that's that significant. And then actually it was the Bennett family talking about hiking the Triple Crown. And I was just like, yeah, that's what we need to do. Why aren't we doing that? So I texted her and I said, yeah, I think you've caused a problem for me, because now I got to go talk to my wife about hiking a Triple Crown. And that was a lengthy conversation.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I would say over the course of several months. But finally she came around to the idea, and then, but I went for the whole Triple Crown right away. I didn't pitch it as just one more trail. I was like, let's go for both. And figured, why not do the CDT first? It's the hard. We thought it's the hardest. Or we had heard it was the hardest. So we're like, let's get that one out of the way first, because, don't leave that one hanging for last. So go ahead and jump on that one. So we did the CDT then in 2020, mostly southbound, a little bit of a flip flop due to some coronavirus closures of Glacier National Park. So that's how it all started. And honestly, we were weekend warrior, pack into a base camp and do day hikes before we stepped out of the car to walk the Pacific Crest Trail. So
wow. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Aiden, Aiden, what did you think whenever he went in and talked to your principal?
I really didn't think he had a chance. I mean, it is a strict school, so I was surprised. They're not allowed to let anybody go out and come back in. So yeah, I was kind of mad too, because I was like, I don't want to do that. I'll have to hang back a year. I'll have to come back as a junior and be a year behind all my friends, but I did it and it was worth it. So
wow,
that's incredible. Now, Henry, I have to let you know, somebody's commented on here, and this is important that you see this. They said, I listened to them on Backpacker Radio. They're great, especially Henry. So, Henry, my question for you is, why are you so great?
I don't know. Probably because I was like contradicting most of what like everybody else said. They would all be like, it's the greatest trail, and I was kind of more inclined to say the opposite. So I was just like, I was the one.
He hated hiking. I
didn't like
Henry's tagline. Henry's tagline, if he had one, on the Pacific Crest Trail, we'd climb this amazing vista. We'd hit the top of this pass. We'd be looking at 360 degrees all around, mountains rolling off into the mist, and be like, man, isn't this amazing? And Henry'd say, I've seen better. Every time.
That's awesome. So did y'all give him a funny name to go along with that?
You should have.
No, we kept holding out for trail names, to be given from the outside, but we were such a, nobody really, you might think other people, through hikers, would want to walk with a family, but it didn't really happen that much. So we didn't get many names. If I had given him a name, it would have been Trail Gator, because I counted in 1 minute he stepped on my heel 13 times.
Oh, wow. How does that happen?
Walk close behind him, I guess.
Yeah.
He was 12. It was partly intentional at that age.
Do you think it was intentional?
No way.
He just couldn't put together that we were all going to end up at the same place at the same time anyway. And it didn't matter if he walked 2 feet ahead and right on my heel, but he did it the whole time.
I was wondering like how much y'all had to stay together, especially having the kids. Like if I backpack with my wife, we stick together. But if I backpack with my friends, sometimes you don't see them like from the time you leave camp to the time you get to the next one.
Yeah, I would say on the Pacific Crest Trail, we started together, and my wife was pretty intent on being within eyesight of everybody. We hadn't been more than 10 miles from a road in any of our backpacking experiences, maybe a little further, but not much. So when we were in Washington, she was very careful and nervous about that. But, by the time we were in Southern California, the kids were walking, we'll see at lunch, like they would be 2 miles out ahead of us and all that stuff. So flash forward to the CDT, and we didn't, we wouldn't see each other for hours. So it was like,
we met up at lunch.
Yeah. Normally we would separate out into groups or by yourself and then meet at lunch.
Wow.
Now with Georgie being so much younger, was there somebody with her at all times, pretty much, I'm assuming?
Not really. Where, you would think, like, I guess, you wouldn't think, you're a backpacker.
Yeah.
But a person who doesn't backpacks might think that the place you would be nervous is back in the woods, away from everybody and everything. The places we were nervous was nearer towns, nearer roads, those kind of things. So if we were on a stretch that was 150 miles or 100 miles or whatever, and there weren't a lot of crossroads, we weren't very nervous about her. Because at a certain point there, the trails, some of these trails are very intuitive, and the kids are really good at keeping an eye on it. So we didn't ever feel really terribly uncomfortable with her walking by herself. Now, they tend to group up. Aiden, Georgie, and Henry walk together. They're kind of the stronger walkers. And then Monica likes to walk by herself, and June and I walk in the back together. So
now, did you kids ever do anything on purpose that like gave them a fright, or like hid from them, or like made them think that there's something fishy going on?
No,
Not that I remember.
we would always try to like scare each other, like come out from behind a bush and jump at somebody and scare them. But if you got behind, you'd try to look for a surprise, because we would always try to surprise each other. But
we did have where my nephew came with us through Montana, and he was pretty high level. So he walked with us about 1,000 miles, and he was pretty high level, oblivious in some ways, so the kids, he would walk in the front with Aiden and Henry, and they would see a junction coming, and they would walk out ahead of him. They'd get ahead of him, walk past the turn and watch him to see if he'd make it.
Always on the wrong way.
Every time the trail has just a turn from, like, if the trail going straight and the CDT goes one way, the trail is more trodden that way, then he'll always go that way every time, like no matter what happens. Like he'll just always
Mom always did the same thing. Like on a road walk, if you're supposed to get back on trail at a certain point, she'd just keep walking down the road.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she has a tell. It's a double track. If you go double track to single track, she misses it every time. So at a point on the CDT, we started setting up arrows, and then we had to start setting up bigger arrows, so she'd have to step over them for the turn. Otherwise, she'd walk past them. So double track to single track, she would miss every time.
Oh, that's
John,
funny.
Hey, John, tell them about you on that road walk on the Sheltoe.
Oh,
tell them about that.
Okay, so I did the Sheltoe Trace here in Kentucky. Obviously, nowhere near the length of the trails that you guys did. I think we ended up hiking like 300, and I think it's 323 miles was the trail. And I was coming out of the woods one time, and I walked out, and I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and over to the left, I saw a blaze. And so I turned left, and I followed the blaze. And a mile later, I got on my satellite stuff and looked to see what was going on, and realized somebody moved the blaze and put it the wrong direction. I literally walked a mile in the wrong direction and had to turn all the way back around and come back. So I had an extra hour added onto my hike that day. Actually, it wasn't quite an hour because it was road walking, but I hate road walking. So it was like I had to spend an extra, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that, road walking, when I could have just been back on the trail at some point. And so I actually ended up, somebody took it and hammered it to a telephone pole. So I actually pulled it off the telephone pole and took it and set it somewhere on a tree or something, and sent a message to the Trail Association and just let them know what happened. So if they didn't know, I let other people know. It was just, there's not many times when I've been hiking where I'm just really glad there weren't a lot of people around me at the time. That was probably one of those times. That was probably one of those times. Now I
hate wrong turns.
I do have a question for Aiden.
Okay.
You're an oldest child.
Yeah.
And younger brothers and sisters can tend to be frustrating at times. You did months on end with little escape from your siblings. Were there just days where you got back to camp and it was like, I think I'm just going to go get in my tent and just kind of avoid everybody?
Oh, yeah.
She's in a tent with me, though, so it's
yeah, it's not exactly an escape since we share everything. But yeah, if I was thinking about that lately, is if I got mad, I mean, I really had no choice but to make it up. Like, I wasn't going to see anybody else, like, especially on the CDT. It was so isolated. There was nobody going southbound this year. So it was like, I have no choice but to talk to them again. It's not like I can't talk to anybody. I'm too social for that.
So did you all pick up a lot of stragglers or I mean, I watched some of your videos and it seems like there's people that wanted to go with you, but I wanted to know, you're saying not many people wanted to hike with a family. Did you all happen to join up with some other people at any point and do some stretches with other groups or anything like that?
We do have we have a few, and they're notable because they're sort of the exception, right? Like so but on the CDT we were stronger hikers, and so we tended to walk a little more at pace with the people around us. That was part of the problem on the PCT, probably, was that people were faster than us, so they'd just keep, they'd blitz by us. And we would catch them just because the old, slow and steady wins the race, because we're not single. None of us are single looking for a town to party in. So we just kept walking. So the best of those examples would be this guy named, he was, what was the name? They were the royal family. His name, he went by the King. And we saw them in Washington, and everybody that passed us, we'd be like, well, never see them again. Well, never see them again. Well, about Northern California, we're walking, and there is the sun behind a person's head, and we hear this sort of exhale and an expletive. And he's like, where did you guys come from? And we're like, oh, it's the King. And he's like, how did you catch us? It's like 400 miles later, So we caught up to people just because we were so persistent. We didn't take any time off in towns and all that stuff. Now, in his defense, he's from New Zealand, and he'd been sick, so he'd been taking Advil, and Advil PM is not available in New Zealand, so he'd been taking a medicine that was putting him to sleep for about 400 miles. So he had a disadvantage in terms of his walk. But
That's great.
In the mountains through the Sierras, we had there was a girl named So Good that caught us in Red's Meadows. We knew a storm was coming in, and she said, hey, there's safety in numbers. You mind if I walk with you guys? So we got to walk with her for about 6 days. But we would overlap with people a little bit. On the CDT, we had some of the hikers, some of the southbound hikers we would hike with for a little more extended 2-3 days, maybe a section. So it was a little more so on the CDT, but the people that would come out and join us are people from home. They just kind of get excited about the idea of us, going, and they just want to show up and do a couple of days on the trail with us, which is really, ultimately it's a very bad idea to try to join a thru hiker who's in their stride. Right. And so we just put them through it for 2 days, and then they go rest up at a hotel and recover. So
yeah, they don't have their hiker legs yet. That's for sure.
It almost always starts as a joke. Like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if they came out with us?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
and then all of a sudden,
do you all loan them gear, and then they just show up and they're like, oh, I'm out here in it? Or are they typically a backpacker? Or are they just like, oh, my cousin, they want to come hang out for a little while?
It depends. I'm trying to think. I think people have turned into backpackers to join us, and they do buy gear, and they sort of get geared up, or they borrow gear from backpackers at home to come, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, when our cousin came for that 1,000 miles, he hadn't done any real hiking before. Like that family doesn't get out for like overnight stuff. Like they did a lot of day hikes. Like they had been to like Kings Canyon and places like that before, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was a first time for him, but he did high school cross country, and he was strong. So we were like, well, yeah.
He's
really
tough.
athletic.
He could do it. Yeah.
Very cool. So got a great question for you guys. Was there ever a dad moment when you had to say, don't make me turn this group around?
Oh yeah, there's lots of those. Yeah. It's sometimes I don't know. It's it's so funny because it's very confounding to run into the comments that say, you guys are so amazing, and I think, we're really not. Like, if you caught us out there at the right moment, you might think so, but there's a lot of moments you could catch us in. It's not quite so amazing. It's just the regular stuff, it's teenagers are teenagers and parents are parents, and it's just not easy. But But yeah, there have been times when I thought, what have we done? Like we got to get out of here. So probably first 300 miles on the PCT, that was every day for about 2 hours. Like, what have I done? This was a bad idea. And then since then, there have been moments, but most of them are connected to injury. I would say most of them are connected to injury. So my wife's feet got really bad, and I just thought we got to do this. In terms of the drama of the kids losing it and everybody going after each other and all that stuff, there's a great book. I don't know if you've read it. What is it? Walking to Listen, it's called. And it's a coming of age story. This guy graduates from college. He can't find anybody to accept his thesis for a master's. So he says, well, I'll just go write it myself. So he walks out his door and somewhere in New England, and he walks the country. And there's this one line in there or one description that I really like, where he talks about the luxury of the walk is that you don't have to hurry with your emotion. You can do hate walking. If you're hate, just hate for 3 days. If you're hurt. If it's all joy, just be joyful for 3 or 4 days. Who cares? And I thought, man, we got time. So it really was a fun framework to approach that thing with. Like, if Aiden's mad and being a jerk, not that would ever happen, but if that happened, I don't have to rush the recovery. Like, I can just let that kid be a kid and lose it. And, so the parenting and the discipline, it's so much easier once you say, I got time for all this stuff.
Henry's smiling behind you right now, by the way. You said that, and there's just a big grin on his face back there.
Can you think of a specific time?
Tell us about this grin. I got to hear what this grin is about.
I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know. He's like, it's just a lot easier for him to parent us out there, and we don't have much to do, and it's just, even if you're annoyed or like angry at someone, then you go walk for 2 miles by yourself, and then you're fine. You come back, you're all right.
I did have a dad moment. I'm thinking of a dad moment with Henry. Do you remember? It was at the roller coaster. Do you remember? It was the roller coaster day.
Oh, and he kept going and going and going. That one?
Yeah, but we wake up, we got 24-mile day, and we woke up a little late. And we took a 24-mile day. There was just nasty water for all morning, and then we climb up this ravine, follow this cut. And it was the wrong way. So then I was like, well, we got to get back to trail. So we go straight up the side of a mountain to get back to the cliffs. So we got to kind of go up this rise, and then we hit the top of this thing. We thought, looking at the elevation chart, that it was a reasonable day, but that's because the elevation chart we were looking at were zoomed a little. We weren't zoomed in quite tight enough, because it would change. It would go up 200 yards and then come down 200. It was just up and down, and they call it the roller coaster. And that's coming in, I don't know where, somewhere in Montana.
It is the weirdest thing. It really is like you're walking along the top ridge.
Dry.
Of all these connecting mountainous
they're just
sections. It's so weird. Like, you would stand at a point, and you could have a big valley down on your right and a big valley down on your left, and there's be another one like going off that way.
So it was terrible. It was just a ridge walk. It's continental.
There were no trees. No trees. It was all rocks and grass.
Yeah, it was really hot.
Really
hot, exposed.
The one water source we had that day was like 200 yards down the hill.
Yeah, that's right.
That was barely going. So
we had 8 miles to water, which I thought we'll hit that mid-morning. And then we had 17 miles to water, something like that. It couldn't have been that, because it was 24-mile day.
No,
it was in the teens. At any rate, it doesn't matter. The point is, we don't hit this water source until about noon. And we got to make 24 miles, and that's only our first 8 miles. And we come to the water source, and it's a jog down the hill. It's probably maybe half a mile down there to a cattle tank.
It's really steep.
Yeah, steep, nasty climb. And I get there, and Henry is laying down against a barbed wire fence with his umbrella over his head. The only shade he can have is what he can make. And my wife is walking up the hill with a water bladder, like, one of these 2.5 liter water bladders. And I said, Henry, do you have your water full? No, that's my water. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done, boy. Walk down that hill and get water and fill it up, because we're in a hurry. My second daughter, June, and I are like, she just was struggling that day. And I said, you could have been back up here. We could have been cooking. We could have been out of here and gone. You need to think about other people. And I just about lost it. I about lost it on him. I'd have sent him down the hill. He was like, he doesn't respond. Like, this is Henry's response to discipline, right? I'm sure we'll offend people right here. This is terrifying to say.
Scared us.
We spank our children. I know, it's terrible.
Oh.
Not anymore. They're older now. We used to. So Henry one day earned one. This is the way he responds to discipline normally. He walks out of the room and turns around and he goes, "Whew, Dad, Mom just gave me a pretty good one." He was proud of her. Giving her congratulations. So that's his response to discipline. But this day, when I lit into him, I could tell that he got the vision of what I was mad about. And he was like, "I didn't even think about it, Dad." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I wasn't even involved.
Yeah.
So you
That
all
was maybe the worst dad moment that I've had with an him.
Hey, if that's the worst, man, you're doing great.
Yeah,
You're
there's no
doing
way.
great. I've got 2 3-year-olds, and I can tell you right now, I can't hike 2 miles with them right now because what little hair I have left will be gone, before we got done. So that's awesome, man.
So you all, I found it very interesting. I was watching some of y'all's food prep, and I do want to talk to you about food. But I was curious why you all, normally people take like a quick lunch and keep it moving, but it seems like you all like to stop and take a break. And you just mentioned, hey, we hit water 8 miles in, we could have cooked. So you prefer to cook more during the midday and take breaks?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what most through hiking people do, but to me it makes a lot more sense, right? You're wearing your body out, pushing as far as you can every day, and you're hiking at night if you have to. So
Cooking at night is no fun.
yeah, it's cold, it's dark. All you want to do is fall on the ground and sleep. You're worn out, so last thing on your mind is cooking. So at some point, and I don't know why, I think it was probably because our feet were so sore that we just wanted a longer. Yeah, we just wanted recovery.
Yeah.
And so we'd sit down in the middle of the day for 2 hours and we just started cooking. And my gosh, again, we're 6 people. That's a slow moving train. You try to get this thing doing anything, it's very difficult. So if we cooked in the morning, it would take us 2.5 hours to get out of camp. So now we just get up, walk, eat a bar, make a little trail shake, whatever. Just keep rolling. And then that way we can sit down at lunch for however long we have to, and you can tighten it up too. It gives you a little leeway in the middle of the day. If we can, if we're going well, if we're on good pace, we'll stretch that thing into 2 hours. Historically, what happens is if we're racing a weather window like we had to on the PCT, we start tightening that lunch window up, because not only do you run into weather windows, but you also, the days are getting shorter if you're going on a southbound. So you just don't have as much time to walk. So, once you get to about 11 hours of daylight, 10, 11 hours of daylight, you really got to push it. So
yeah, that makes sense. We actually have a question about food. Jason Wish, he was wondering, what are some foods that you may have enjoyed on the PCT and CDT, but now don't ever want to eat again?
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts. Never.
Like cardboard these days.
Yeah.
what else?
I
know one.
Like
I know
a lot of instant mashed potatoes I hate now.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just can't stomach those.
Those
Those are
are
gross.
I saw some. I babysit a lot, and I saw some in somebody's pantry the other day, and I was like, "They eat these in regular life? What kind of person? That is disgusting."
You know what's funny? I came home and did a short backpacking trip with some friends, and it was Monica. Yeah, Monica and I went with another couple, and we went camping, and I made some of the backpacking food that I had been loving on the PCT, and I could not put it in my mouth. I was like, what is wrong with this? And then I ate it again on the CDT, and I liked it. I think you got to get good and hungry to eat some of the stuff we're willing to eat.
Yeah.
Did y'all figure out any foods that you thought were going to be a no-go from home, and then you got out on the trail and you're like, maybe I do like this?
How about you?
I think
Mm.
that trail shake he mentioned, it's instant milk, instant chocolate
Yeah.
powder, and instant PB Fit, like that peanut butter protein powder.
Yeah.
And it's not amazing at home. Like it's okay. He drinks it at home,
It's,
but
it's not good at home, but when you're on trail and you sit down for lunch,
it's
it's like
amazing.
it's just so much protein and calories, you just want to eat it.
Especially if
So-
you get it with like fresh cold water, it's really great. And it's like depending on how large you make it, it can be up to like 400 calories.
Yeah.
So
We do
Yeah.
a lot of bartering on trails. So we'll come
Oh,
into
yeah.
town and we'll go through the box and pass things out roughly evenly. But I remember one time on trail, I knew Henry he hated. We found some flavored Snickers. I don't know if you've had them.
Never heard of that.
They were weird
It's like
flavors.
jalapeno
spice.
flavored Snickers.
Oh, it
Like,
was.
It's
what?
I loved it. I wanted it bad.
Gross.
So, but I had one of the regular Snickers, and Henry was dying for it. So I was like, Henry, what are you gonna give me for this Snickers? And finally looked at me. He's like, and he had two flavored Snickers, and he was so close to trading me. He's like, I just can't give up the calories, Dad.
Oh my gosh.
And he's come to hate Cliff Bars, I think.
Yeah, I don't like Cliff Bars.
I'm right there with you, Henry. Like 1,000%. I
That's so funny.
I did Kilimanjaro a few years back, and I probably ate I felt like 250 of those just in that week, and I have had 2 since 2016. Like that's it. I won't touch those things. I'm right
Yeah.
there with you, Henry. 100%.
So how
Have
do
you had the
all-
Builder bars though? I like the
Oh, those
Builder
are so
bars.
good.
Cliff Builder.
It says Cliff on it, so I just kind of avoid it.
I promise
Before you
you
give up, give the
Give
Builder
those a
bar.
try,
Give
dude.
him
The
give him a
mint-
try.
mint-
Hey, I'll give it a shot.
Those ones are really good.
So who decides all this food that I see you all mailing boxes like priority, and you can bounce them along, and you all have a whole system. And I'm curious, like who, like you all assign jobs of who's packing what boxes, and then like who's shipping them out, who has this job, who has that job, and who decides what food's in there. Because if you divvy it up, then I just don't know who decides ahead of time.
Well, we're getting better. We're getting better and better at it.
Yeah.
And we
I'd
have
say third time's the charm. In this particular
we'll find out.
instance.
I think so. Jury's out. Like we'll find out if the third time is the charm. We have shown up into town and been like, didn't we send tortillas? Weren't there tortillas coming to this town? So we just
Yeah.
kind of have to make do.
Is it-
But I put a little chart on the side of the boxes, and the kids go down and I say just fill the boxes with what we've got in. Costco and other like
Amazon.
Costco and Amazon basically determine what goes in the boxes. So
Whoever
Yeah.
delivers first.
whatever's
Whatever.
cheapest and we can get in bulk, we get it in. So
Yeah.
so then we start then we just sort of stack them, and then once a box is full, we stack them and we mark what's in the box on the side, and then once it's full, we move on to the next box. So that's how we do that. But nobody has a specific job. I just shouted out, Henry, you're on
Like-
hygiene. No, I can't do that because there wouldn't be anything in the box.
I do.
But if
hygiene.
I'll say, see what we got in from Costco and just start putting it on all the sections, all the boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not too
Somebody
bad.
wanted to give you the comment here that you definitely get the Dad of the Year award. So
Well, Dan, I'm gonna tell you I thought that was true, but I'm gonna dispel that rumor for you. So I finished the CDT. My head was in a daze. This is the second long trail, and what kind of dad must it take to do such an amazing thing? And and I'm very filled with the glory of myself, and I just was reflecting, and I would have said the hardest thing the entire time of the trail. Actually, let me back up, because when I finished the PCT, I would have said the trail's not done with me yet, and it's not done with June yet. That's my second daughter. And there's more for us out there. I didn't reflect well. I mostly was busy managing emotion, managing experience, managing resupply, managing lists. I mean, it was just busy, and
He came back from the PCT pretty exhausted.
I came back pretty worn out, and I just didn't have the kind of hike that I was dreaming, the beautiful hike that I was dreaming. Everybody else got it, but I had to be the manager. In June, I would have said she's just something else. Like there's more out there for her. So she was kind of some of the inspiration for the CDT for me. And we got out there, and I expected this euphoric sort of like, we're going to tackle all the challenges. It's going to be beautiful. I've unlocked the problem, because poor June, she's the caboose, right? Like she's the slow one. Somebody's got to be the slow one, and you're only as fast as your slowest. So I thought, I got it unlocked. June's going to lead every day for 2 weeks. She's going to lead. She's going to lead at the start of the trip. We're going to build into strength as she builds into strength, and then we'll all sort of be strong together. And that was okay. It worked pretty well. She got better and better and better. And then she just dove off a cliff. Like it was unbelievable. Like we could not climb a hill faster than like 1.5 miles an hour. I was just like, can we please move? Like we have places to go. We got to get to Mexico. We got to beat the snow. And I was just getting mad. Well, I did overcome that to some degree. Like at some point I overcame that and said, well, she's a part of the family. The flavor of our family is not whole without this awesome kid, beautiful philosophical recovery, I'm sure. Make it to Mexico. And then I get home, and then we take June to the doctor and get blood work done. And turns out the doctor says, this is a direct quote, I'm surprised she doesn't have trouble breathing. She's severely anemic.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God.
So you're a horrible dad.
Yeah, that's why I said, Dan, I'm sorry. I'm a terrible dad.
Well,
And it was gutting. It was very gutting for
Yeah.
quite a while. But June took it well. She marched around the house for about 3 days going, I walked the whole CDT and I was severely anemic. You made me. She was so mad. You made me walk 3,000 miles severely anemic.
that was the topic of conversation for about 3 weeks.
Oh, it was great. That was great.
Wow.
So Dan, I'm sorry. I appreciate the thought, but it turns out you're not quite right.
Is she fully recovered now and planning on doing the AT with you guys?
We just got her results
Yeah,
back.
she got some numbers. They're a lot higher. We still have her on iron and B12, and so her numbers are coming way up.
Yeah.
And
so now you know
this
how to
time,
treat it on the trail, right? So now you've got a plan in place at least
yeah.
of what to do on the trail that you didn't even know about before.
yeah, we're addressing it with nutrition, and it should have been an indication, you guys. I don't know. Should have been an indication when she was only eating ramen, and that's all. That maybe there was going to be a problem with her nutrition.
That was dumb.
Oh,
Mom knew something was up.
Yeah. Everybody else but Dad.
what
So, yeah,
she needed
so-
was a cheeseburger every meal.
My God.
Yeah, exactly. She would do all right in town. She can crush it in town, but on trail she locks down and won't eat. So we're working on it. We're working on that.
Well,
Nice.
I have, Aiden, I know you're a little older, but I have a question for the kids. Oftentimes I find myself looking at things through like my teacher lens, if you will, because my day job, I spend all day with like 15, 16-year-old, 18-year-old kids. And it seems like they're like literally, their phone is glued to their face. And I was born in 92, so I'm still pretty young. But my generation, it's almost the same thing. And I was wondering if you all have noticed anything different about you guys since you went through these experiences versus some of your friends, especially when it comes to how you look at social media and how much you use technology.
Well, we've never exactly. It wasn't exactly an open gate for us to just use technology whenever we wanted. I mean, I was the first one to get a phone, and that was only because I was going to school 30 minutes away from home when I hit high school. So, I mean, we've always been kind of
We've always
distanced from
been
it.
distance from technology more than other kids, but I think the trails have
It definitely opens your mind to it for sure.
we come back and I notice that more. I'm like, we can just sit here and talk like we do on the trail, but your phone's in front of you. How
Yeah.
do I talk to you?
Yeah, I've started to notice, like, if an awkward moment comes up in conversation with my peers or with people younger than me, it's always, they pull out the phone, they do something, but we're pretty good at, addressing it. I don't know. I don't know.
about that.
They're
No,
good at it
really.
because they don't have them. Well, Aiden
Mhm.
has a phone. Henry doesn't even have a phone, so we're just kind of we're not anti-technology, but we don't have it around. But I would be interested. I think the question is, do you feel like you're different from other kids that are your age in the
Yes.
use of technology? But part of what you're saying is that you are anyway.
We
Part of it.
We
But
But
are
also the trail adds to
anyway,
that.
but I think the trail does.
yeah,
actually.
I think so because I mean, social media is really big in our generation, and I've never had it, but I can tell that I don't think I ever want it, especially not like the stuff that's like instant message reply, pictures all the time. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe Instagram would be as far out as I went, but yeah, that instantaneous stuff kind of scares me a little. I think it would be addicting for me, and I think it'd be better just to stay away from it.
That makes
And
sense.
I don't know how much of that the trail has to do with that, but I think it helps.
I got you.
So somebody has a really interesting question. They also have a really interesting name. The Pizza Ninja wants to know what's your favorite trail games to play with the family while backpacking?
Trail games.
Do you have any?
June carried a card deck for the CDT. We didn't use it very often, mostly in town, which is kind of opposite to the point of carrying a card deck. But
Yeah.
we play a word game sometimes. Like
What's that spelling game?
yeah, it's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
spelling game. You start. Somebody says a letter, and you form a word, but you don't want to ever end a word. But everybody's chiming in with a new letter every turn, so the word changes that it's going towards. But the goal is not to finish the word, so you just
If you finish the word, you get a point, and you don't want points.
yes.
That's a
Nice.
good one. I
That's
like
a
that
good
one.
game.
That
Yeah.
is a good
Did
one.
did you guys ever do the put something in somebody's pack or put something on somebody's pack while they're hiking? And
Yep, we did.
Georgie definitely.
Yeah, Georgie's really good at it. I ended up
Oh,
with
yeah?
30 rocks in my backpack one
You just-
day.
How
And
many?
Before I
they
noticed.
weren't small little pebbles. They were like they're pretty
That's
big
big
rocks.
Mhm. I was like a
It's
frog boiling
It's
in
like
the water.
my back is hurting today. I don't know why. And Georgie's like,
Oh, maybe it's because of this.
yeah.
We've done that. We've done like the safety pin. You pin it on the outside of somebody's pack, and then whoever has is like the loser, and then you try to secretly pin it on somebody else's pack. It'd
Oh,
be
that's
interesting.
funny.
Yeah,
That's a good
I like
idea.
that.
Yeah, we may have to do that one.
Yeah, the rocks though. The rocks really suck. Like
that's brutal.
yes,
Yeah,
we
that was mean.
we got
My
this guy.
my favorite of the trail games is the spelling bee, and Henry's the only contestant. He may be
They can't spell.
he can't spell. So that is a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
like that one.
They just tease me about that the whole way. They're like, spell this word. I can't do it.
That's okay, bro. I can't spell either.
So,
So
go ahead, Jeremiah.
we have this guy that we're buddies with, and his name is Miyagi on the trail. He's got a YouTube channel too, and he took us. John wasn't on this trip, but we all have we do this YouTube, and a bunch of us hike together on different trips. So there are several people that are all really close friends on this trip, and Miyagi planned the trip, and it was through the Smokies, and it was down in the bottoms, and it ended at Klingman's Dome. And for those that don't know, that's like the highest point on the AT, even though we weren't on the AT on this trip. And he had rocks all in my pack. Like the last day we got done, and I still found like 3 big pond rocks or like creek rocks
Gosh.
in my pack. And like the last 9 miles, all uphill to the top of that mountain to Klingman's Dome. It's like 6,500 feet down from just like under 1,000.
Is that the same trip where he
hike
brought
we
the
did.
bell?
What's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
that?
Say it again, John.
No, I was just saying, is that the same trip where he brought the bell?
Yeah,
and was putting the bell on the back of your backpacks.
You have to put a bread tie on like a bell. You know how people have those bear bells?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't ever take those, but if you have somebody in your group that has one, you take a bread tie and you have to sneak the bell onto the back of their pack while you're walking behind them, and you do it while they're moving. There's all kinds of games you can play.
Oh, those are really good.
Here's a great one for you. Midwest Backpack didn't realize Miyagi put a stick in my pack until I watched the video a month later.
Yeah, he was,
Oh my god.
he was on that.
Don't hike with. Here's Miyagi. Don't hike with that Miyagi guy. He's tricky.
That's great. Where was that? Was that hike out of Bryson City on that side?
Miyagi, can you answer in the comments where we started and where we finished? I don't know. That was a trip.
That's a Fontana. We started at Fontana and did a loop hike up to Klingman's, and that's where we decided the kids could hike a through hike.
Yeah,
It was
that
right in that same area.
it's like 40 something miles from Fontana to Klingman's on the AT. I don't know if y'all were on the AT that trip.
We were doing.
We were for a little while.
We were. This was back early in the days when we were just following little dots on a map. So a few of the trails we took were no longer in existence. So,
I got you. He says Smokemont.
maybe, I don't know.
So I think it was a campground down there, and we
Cool.
pretty much stayed by the rivers and stuff the whole time.
Now,
So
I have to ask a question because you mentioned something earlier. I want to make sure we don't miss this because you caught yourself when you said we did. I think you said we did the CDT because we wanted to get the most difficult one, at least that we thought it was going to be the most difficult one out of the way. Because everybody I've talked to says the AT is the most difficult of the three trails, and it's the last one you guys are doing. So is that intimidating at all, or you just like whatever, we got this?
I don't know what to say about that.
I think we can do it. I don't know if. I mean, I it's lower elevation, so I feel like even if it's more up and down gain, we can breathe better, so we might be able to do it better. But I don't know.
Well,
It's-
I'd say it depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Because the people who did the PCT first of the three say that the PCT was the hardest, and the people who do the AT first of the three
Mhm.
say that the AT
Yeah.
is the hardest, and nobody does the CDT first. So, I don't know.
It could just be that they weren't in hiking shape, and that was the first trail they did,
I
and
mean,
it kicked their
maybe-
butt.
I mean, yeah, that would stink on like up and down, out of shape, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable theory, but I don't know. I mean, the answer is we don't know. I think it's kind of like, on these long trails, each section has its own challenges. Each stretch has their own challenges. It sounds like the difficult pieces of the AT are going to be the elevation gain and loss and the rain. Those two
Yeah.
things. And we've certainly encountered the elevation gain and loss on the CDT at times, but the CDT has long, big, fast walking days that are long stretches. And so maybe on the whole, the AT is a lot harder in terms of the gain and loss. But I don't know. I don't know. I will be interested to see about that. And I guess what I would say is that my impression was that the CDT would be the hardest. A friend of ours said that he thought the CDT was the hardest psychologically, that it just beats you to death.
Mhm.
I think that
And-
was true.
Yeah, that certainly was our experience. Just that we even walked we probably walked it 2 weeks faster than we did, or a week faster, maybe we walked it a week faster than the PCT. But it felt like it was so much harder than the
Yeah, it felt a
PCT.
lot longer.
So
I got two questions for you guys about the AT. One, I know that COVID kind of throws a wrench in this whole thing just in general, but typically the AT is very social. So question one is, are you all excited about the more social aspect over on the East Coast? And two, what are you all most excited about for your upcoming through hike?
Excited about social.
I can't. Henry said he's excited about
we
this.
haven't seen people. Like we did the PCT
Yeah.
southbound,
There was no
and
one.
everybody walked faster or slower than us, so we didn't see a lot of people. We walked the CDT in 2020 when nobody was on the CDT. I think I don't know how big the entire class was, but it may have been 60 people. I don't know.
Wow.
Wow.
Finished something. So
Yeah,
it
we
was
were
not
10% of
many.
it.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been more than 100 would be my guess. And so we were pretty isolated, and we've always walked the wrong direction or the opposite direction. So we're walking past people, not with people for the most part. And so it'll be interesting to be on a trail like that where we're going to be around people for the first time. we are going to start a little early, and that partly is to avoid the crowd. Like we want to kind of get out and get a jump on it and get out ahead of people and kind of stay ahead of people. But even still, I think it's going to be a lot more social.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I don't know. I kind of liked the solitude of the CDT. Like there were times where it really was just like, this sucks. But most of the time, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Henry,
That's awesome.
I don't think it'll. I think if we start early like we are, we'll be out ahead of the less fast hikers. So the people we will be with, they'll probably be faster than us or about the same pace. But I don't know if the social will affect our hike much. But I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
we don't know. You may know as much as we know about it. We're just kind of our friends. Like everybody's like, "Hey, what are you going to do when you get to so and so?" And we're like, "I haven't opened gut hooks yet. I don't really know."
Now, are you guys
Tell you
Nobo
what
or
we're doing.
Sobo?
We're
Are you guys
Nobo.
Nobo or Sobo? Nobo.
Yeah.
Great. You're gonna end on Katahdin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That'd be
cool.
awesome. What is your all's potential starting window?
We're gonna start in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
13 days or so.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you have to be really, really excited.
yeah.
We'll have to find out if you guys get a 0 day on a Monday and see if we can get a live update from the trail with you guys.
Oh man, that'd be fun. I'm
would be
confident that we will, because we'll have a number of 0 days. Although we don't tend to 0 day, we tend to Nero day. But that's been a big consideration, and part of it is connected to the COVID stuff. We don't want to have to hitch into town, and so there's some pretty, like, this is a fantastic trail for resupply. Looking through it, like there are only 3 hitches that we have to do, and at least one of those we'll have some people nearby that we'll be able to connect with. So I'm pretty excited about trying to stay off trail for a whole lot of reasons. It's really hard to look at all your kids when you go into town and say, no, I've been asking 20 plus miles a day out of you, but you can't have a milkshake. No. It could be a lot cheaper to stay on trail.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So it is now, believe it or not, we are almost an hour into this thing. Like I told you, it was going to happen. What I'd like to do is, I noticed on your website that you guys are not just, at least in the past, you haven't just hiked for yourself, you've hiked for causes. Do you guys want to talk? Because I know from talking with you guys here a second ago, you don't really have a lot of social media stuff, but what are some of the causes that you guys are hiking for? And give you the opportunity to share that for a second.
Oh, that's cool.
Go ahead, Aiden.
I'm hiking for an organization called Samaritan Village. They're based in Orlando, and they run a safe house for victims of safe trafficking. Human trafficking is what I meant to say.
Safe check.
Yeah, so they run a safe house and an organization. So I raised money for someone to stay in the safe house for a year, and then I think another time the first trail maybe I raised enough money for, I think they redid a bedroom or something. So I don't know, that's mine.
Last trip on the CDT, I raised money for Parker Street Ministries. It's based in Lakeland, and it's kind of based around this neighborhood that's kind of a less kind of a tough neighborhood to be in, and I just raised money for them, and they put it to, like, just, I remember, like, we did a soccer camp there just to have fun with all the kids, and we just worked with them, and
they do after school programs, and they do housing programs, and
they
all
do
sorts
like
of
school
stuff.
jump.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
it was fun. I came to the kids at the first trail and I said, hey, what do you guys be fun to, while we're doing this, it'd be fun to raise money for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to him and I was like, what would you want to raise money for more than anything? And Henry said, can I get soccer cleats? And I thought, oh, that's cool. You want to do soccer cleats for kids that can't afford it, or maybe down for kids in Nicaragua? He's like, no, I was thinking for me. That's really what I had in mind. But So we helped turn that vision a little bit toward other
Yeah.
people, but
Yeah.
they did really well. We did a lot. We did better on the first hike than we did on this one, partly because we tied it to miles, so it was kind of fun. You know, it's a lot more. One guy, I came back to Lakeland, he looked at me and he'd pledged 25 cents a mile per person on the thing, which is a lot of money by the time we're done. And he was like, you know, I was rooting against you. I thought about flying out there and heading you off at an intersection. But I think, you know, people didn't think we were going to make it. So they figured, you know, a bet per mile or, you know, a pledge per mile wouldn't hurt them that bad. But we really went a long way. The trouble with that, and it was really fun, I think, for people, it was very interactive. They could kind of track it per mile. And we had a map linked to our Garmin and all that stuff, which was great when our Instagram had, you know, 200 followers. But then we were going on the CDT, and I was like, oh, it's kind of a remote kind of atmosphere. Maybe making our Garmin tracker within 2 hours available to the public is probably not a great idea. Walking through these areas with kids, so I pulled that away from it. I think it really did hurt. I don't know if it was that or the coronavirus really hurt the sort of income on those drives. The first time we probably raised $40,000, I would bet.
Wow.
For the various causes. That was a lot of fun. And the second time around, it was probably more in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. But we're trying to raise some money again this time around. But we're just going to keep the same causes in effect and rolling through. So Aiden is, like she said, Samaritan Village. Henry is Parker Street Ministries. Georgie raises money for a place. She was really sweet. I said, what do you want to raise money for? And she said, I want to raise money for women who need help, who've gotten pregnant. I want to raise money for this. I want to raise money for that. And I was like, well, you have a lot of great ideas, kid. You know, is there anything that ties that all together? And she's like, maybe Jesus? Like, could I raise money for something where people get taught about Jesus? And I was like, that is the coolest thing. So I had gone to seminary in Orlando, and one of my probably favorite professors there runs he does a ministry that's seminary education for life or for the world for free. And so he provides this seminary level education. And so she raised money for his ministry, which I thought was really, really cool. And June loves horses. So she raised money for a camp, a horse program at a camp that she really loves. And they have a lot of need in that area. So we don't know what it'll look like. Everybody's going to stick with the same causes. And then let's see what else. Oh, we have a couple special guests coming with us on this hike that are sort of a last minute ad and out of the blue. These two kids that are friends of ours or friends of the families, and they're involved with a local outreach group that helps to get kids outdoors that are kids without fathers. And these two boys don't have a dad, and they've been really blessed by that outreach. They've really experienced the benefit of that. And so they are, it's possible, I don't know, I'm speaking way ahead of turn, but basically they sort of are mumbling around and thinking about what they want to raise money for. And that might be one of the things. So I don't know, Jeff Shills, I'm sorry if they decide for something else, then, you know, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry to get your hopes up, but that's one of the things that I know those boys are considering. So we don't know.
How old is Georgie? So everybody knows, because people who've never heard of you guys or finding out about you for the first time. How old is Georgie?
Georgie's 13. When she finished,
14.
Are you serious? I'm
December.
a dad of the year, Dan. So Georgie's 14. She was 11 when we completed the PCT. So
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
So if where is the best place for a couple of things? One, if people want to help out with the causes that you all are working with, where can they go to support that? And then how can they follow along with your all's journey as you're completing your Triple Crown?
Oh, cool. Well, I'll give you the rundown. The rundown is essentially strawbridgetreks.com is great for information about the ministries. It's probably very okay about finding out about the stuff that we've done and who we are and all that kind of thing. But right there on the front page, as you scroll down on strawbridgetreks.com, you can find that information, and it'd be great. I think you can pledge right through those, right through the links there on the page. You can find out about what the kids are raising money for. In terms of following along on our trip, I write a daily blog post and I write that to Instagram and then repost it out to Facebook. So I kind of do a daily summary sort of deal. And we've got an idea for YouTube that we finally think we can manage, because what I do is come home and tool about for about 3 or 4 months and put together things, and then it maybe comes out, and by that time people are not interested anymore. But this time what we're going to do is I've got an intro and I got an outro set up and I got music. And I'm training my mother, which is one of the most comical experiences you can imagine. In fact, if you go, which one is it? One of our daily videos that's up right now. If you scroll through there, I think it's T-22, day T-22, is my mother trying to learn how to do some of this stuff, and it is the funniest thing. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna just start the camera rolling when we start the water boiling. And so we'll just pick a topic. We'll do something like that every day and sort of just invite people into a little window of time on trail each day. And so that's the plan, to have sort of a daily vlog on YouTube. And since we're never going to be fantastic and clever editors, we're just going to sort of invite people into a few minutes each day, into the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is sort of, that's our style. And then if people happen to want more of the insider sort of stuff, there's a little bit more we have going on at Patreon, where we'll actually roll some audio tape and talk a little longer. And Georgie takes a lot of pictures. She has a really nice camera, and we post those to and through the Patreon account. Yeah, we use them on Instagram, but you get a little bit more on the Patreon. And she does a trip report or a section report there. So that's kind of the different, those are the various ways to find us throughout this trip.
That's an awesome idea. As the water boils. I like that.
Yeah, I was going to use that. You know, that as the world turns intro. I was like, man, I should totally use that. And then I thought, it'll be lost on everyone. No one's going to get
it. That's awesome.
So.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here and being on this tonight. It's been a lot of fun hearing about your stories. We're excited to see what happens over the next year with you guys. I'm curious, after you get done with the Triple Crown, what's next? Because
well, I can tell you,
it seems like this gets to be a bug that you can't cancel.
Can we?
You can tell them, yeah.
We're probably gonna finish school before we do any other big hikes.
I thought you were going to tell him what you told me. You're being nice. He's being nice.
What'd I tell
he said,
you?
we're retired. We're not doing another.
That's great.
I'm going to college. Peace out. Y'all later.
Well, thank you guys for being on here. We're gonna get signed off in a second, but hang out in the green room. We're gonna come back, talk to you in a few minutes. So, but thank you so much for being on tonight. This was awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Jeremiah just never stops being fun.
I know, it's always
Never stops.
That was very unique, very interesting. You never hear of whole families that are through hiking together.
No, you just never hear of it. And the fact that they get along so well.
Yeah.
You know, like we tried to get them to admit that they like fight and beat up on each other, but they're just like, no, we don't really do that much. So
we got no choice but to just forgive each other. They're going to be here the next day and the next 100 days.
Great outlook, man. Great outlook on everything. So real quick, just a reminder to everybody who's watching, starting in June, these live streams will only be on the Backpacking Podcast YouTube channel. So make sure you get subscribed to that so that you're getting these videos there. Right now, it's obviously on mine and Jeremiah's channels, which can be a little confusing for people commenting because you're not seeing everybody's comments because some are coming from Jeremiah's channel, some are coming from mine. But moving forward, starting in June, all of these are going to be on the Backpacking Podcast channel. Also, all of our live streams, all of our podcasts, we actually put those on the YouTube channel. So we just actually interviewed Heather Anish Anderson this past week, and that's going to be going on real soon. That's going to be an audio podcast that comes out. Is that this Wednesday, Jeremiah?
It actually will come out on the 24th. So we
24th.
For those that haven't got to listen to the Andrew Skirka podcast that we had him on, which is awesome. That will be Wednesday, the 17th. And then next week, hopefully everybody will join us for the live stream again next week. We're going to have Chris Smead on, who played a huge role in a number of different pieces of content. But one of the most notable is Highline.
Yes. Yes. We're excited to have him on here and talk to him about that and maybe some future projects they might be working on. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Jeremiah, you feeling good?
I'm gonna hunker down in this ice storm and see how it goes.
We kept power the whole time. So
Somehow.
it's a win all around, right?
Amen,
So-
brother.
All right. Well, we will see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next go around.
Adios.